Good evening, everyone, and welcome to your Rangers Review post-match reaction video. After a dramatic night in Poland, Rangers scoring a last-gasp equaliser against Dynamo Kyiv to take a draw, I guess. I was going to say a point, a draw back to Hampden for next week's showdown as Rangers look to finish the job. To look back on what was quite an interesting affair, Chris Jack joins me. How's it going, Chris?
I think that the mood of this video will be slightly different than it could have been 10 minutes or so ago. As I was saying to you before we came on air, I've got a piece to write for the site for tomorrow morning. And during the last 20, 15, 10 minutes, you're starting to formulate ideas, you're starting to formulate some intros and thinking where we're going to go with it. And as soon as Cyril Dessers scores, all of those ideas, all of those notes, it all goes completely out the window and you're ripping up and starting again. But at least it's on nights like this, you have sympathy with your colleagues that are actually in the stadium and on the gantry and having to file in the whistle. And there's nothing that sparks a range of emotions more than a last minute Rangers goal, because you know it's rip it up and start again time. So I feel for my press colleagues out there, but as you say, it's a really important goal for Rangers. It changes the complexion of the tie back at Hampden next week very much in Rangers' favour.
Yep, absolutely. And Joshua will be joining us at some point, folks. He is in the Lublin Arena just now. He's going to speak to Philip Clement after the game, but hopefully he can join us for a few minutes to give his account of what was a real dogged performance, you've got to say, from Rangers. Certainly when I seen the team earlier on, Chris, I would have taken a 1-0 defeat. I think it's fair to say that the supporters weren't too enamoured with the starting 11, but in Big Phil we trust, as they say. Now Joshua has joined us, so I'm just going to bring him on to the show because I know he is stretched for time, but there he is. Joshua, as Chris was just saying there, I think it was looking like Rangers would be succumbing to a narrow defeat, but Cyril Dessers popping up in dramatic fashion in stoppage time. Great counter-attacking goal from Rangers, and the landscape looks a lot more positive now after that.
Yeah, hello to everyone. I'm going to try and speak over this very loud techno music, so hopefully you can hear me. Never in doubt, was it? I mean, I think if you'd offered that to Clement before the game, Derek, he'd 100% have taken it. Cyril Dessers does what we speak about, what he doesn't do, that's what he does do, and that he keeps coming back for more, he keeps taking chances, he goes right to the end of matches, and he's someone whose I think attitude allows him to keep taking chances, even if he's had a couple of games where he's not scored. I thought Chefty was arguably my player of the match just because he brought a really positive impact on the ball from the left. You know, Scott Wright really did nothing on the ball in that first half, but Chefty, we've spoken about it, haven't we, in pre-season. There's maybe some questions and some improvement and development naturally for a young player defensively, but on the ball he does have those standout qualities, his ability to carry the ball forward, and I thought today we saw on the ball what a good delivery he had as well. Cherney as well, it's his ball that sets up that goal, and I thought he gave the ball away quite a lot actually when he came off the bench, but then is able to provide that moment of quality. So I think overall probably Rangers deserved the point. There's still questions about how often they concede transitions, and in that last 20 minutes it did feel at points like Kyiv might add another, not necessarily because they had lots of shots at goal, but just because there was so much open space. And I think if you go back to what we were saying before the game, Derek, Clement needed a performance tonight, something to hold on to, something to vindicate his team selection, and Cyril Dessers is giving him that in injury time.
Yep, absolutely superb. I agree with you with Jefty. I thought he was good when he came on. I didn't understand Scott Wright playing out on the left, I've got to say. When we did our team pre-match build-up show, we sort of envisaged Wright being on the right and McCausland over on the left. But he was pretty anonymous, Scott Wright. Good decision by the manager to bring Jefty on. Really liked down that left-hand side, him and Ridvan combined. I thought Ridvan at times, his touch let him down, a few misplaced passes. I mean, we are at the start of the season, but that sort of Jefty and Ridvan combination on the left, Joshua, that is something that is a right positive from tonight, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I put in my predicted team earlier, and I had Matondo on the left, but I said I can't remember the phrase I used, but you could maybe see Chefty out there as well, purely because we've not seen that in pre-season. I guess that plays into the fact that Clermont didn't anticipate that Oscar Cortez was going to pick up an injury in the first day of the season. His strength is going forward more than defending. I actually thought in a couple of moments with Chefty, he didn't look like a left back playing forward in the way he tracked back at points, but you've got to give him praise for that moment of quality, and Cherney as well, because as I say, he gave the ball away what felt like on a fair few occasions. Obviously pulled it out of the bag when it mattered. I thought Dujon Sterling was a positive impact for the bench. Leon Balogun helped at the back as well. James Tavernier was improved. So a better night for Rangers, and it needed to be, especially going into the next leg. But I'm going to shoot off to the press conference, which people can watch soon. I'll leave you to far more esteemed broadcasters to continue the show, and I'll speak to you in the morning.
Yeah, good stuff. Right, thank you, Joshua. He's off to speak to the Rangers manager, although he keeps popping back up. We can't get rid of him. But there you go. So good to have Joshua joining us. But Chris, that first half, the goal that Rangers lost was, a poor goal defensively for Rangers to lose. Ridvan losing possession, John Suter sort of losing Yarmolenko, just nipping in behind. It was a good ball across the face, you've got to say. But Rangers defensively looking a tad fragile, to say the least. Dynamo Kyiv looking to exploit down Rangers' left-hand side at times. I just thought they were maybe a yard or two off the pace in that first half. But Dynamo Kyiv as well, they aren't a team. I know they absolutely pumped Partizan Belgrade in the previous round by 9-2, but aside from a spell when they looked half decent, I don't think there's anything to really fear for next week.
I thought I was disappointed. Disappointed is maybe the wrong word, but I was surprised, I think, by how Kyiv looked. You look at that result in the last round. We spoke about it over the last couple of days. We spoke about it on the show this morning. I thought they would fancy their chances of scoring a couple of goals against a Rangers defence that, as we've seen during pre-season, as we saw at Tynecastle, is susceptible. That defence can be got at, not just because of the back four, but I think that the whole setup, Rangers are too easy to play against. They are too easy to play through at times, and that's still a big concern heading into the second leg. It's a huge concern heading into the rest of the campaign. But they got away with it tonight, only conceded the one goal. As you say, a really sloppy one to concede. Ridvan loses the ball in a bad area of the park. But even from then, I think there's mistakes throughout that next phase of play. Just because your left back loses it in that area doesn't mean to say that you should then concede a goal. Shooter's caught out. Yes, if you're Kyiv, it's an incisive move, but Rangers should have been doing better. Rangers should have found a way to stop that at source. A couple of moments in the second half as well. I think there's chances there. Kyiv could have scored again, but Rangers again managed to see those phases of play out. Managed to keep it at one, and if you keep it at one, you give yourself the chance of getting some reward late on in the game, and it doesn't come much later than the last kick of the ball. So it's. Yes, I think there's concerns there for Rangers. I think you can be pleased with the way they certainly dug in. They certainly showed a bit of spirit to see it out for as long as they did, keep it at one for as long as they did, and so you then get that opportunity to try and get something. And thankfully they did, and proving both of our predictions right this morning. So it's officially a nice 1-0 time, because it shows that we sometimes know what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to say, watching the game, I was pretty. I know when Kyiv scored, but I was still pretty relaxed watching it. I didn't feel at any point the Rangers were going to be on the receiving end of a PSV hiding like we've seen that last season. That leads me to believe that the job is not done, of course, but I think that this Rangers team should be able to go on and beat Kyiv after taking care of Motherwell at the weekend. I would like to think that we could see Robin proper before the game next week. The sooner we can get him into that back line, the better, as far as I am concerned. I thought, as Joshua touched on, Cherney looked good as well. Chris, you can tell he's got a bit of quality about him. he and Tavernier linked up well over on that right-hand side. And, of course, he's got the assist for the goal as well. A bit surprised. Well, I was surprised that he wasn't starting tonight, given that we've seen him at Tynecastle at the weekend. Not that, Ross McCausland works hard. We know that. But Czerny's just, you can tell he's just a bit step above in terms of quality. I'd like to think he can start the next 2 games.
You would hope so, because he's been brought in to start games, he's been brought in to change games, he's been brought in to win games, and that's the ambition for Rangers. They have to start the season well. We know that Tynecastle was a difficult one in terms of the performance, a difficult one in terms of the result. It wasn't great. Tonight was definitely better. You would hope now that Czerny has had those 2 appearances off the bench. To his credit, he has to start against Motherwell now. Surely, you look at the options in that final third. We know that Dessers is going to start. We know the situation on the left-hand side with Cortez. That right-hand berth, it's been such a problem for Rangers for such a long time. The signing of Czerny has been made to address that. At some point, you just have to say, give him a start, give him a run. Let's see what he can actually do. Allow him to play himself into form, allow him to get himself up to speed. That's going to happen more easily and quickly if he's playing more football. I think we all had him in our starting lineups earlier on. I was surprised when he didn't get the nod. You know what Scott Wright is going to give. We know that it's not good enough for this level. You know what Ross McCausland is going to give. Question marks over whether it's good enough for this level. As it stands, we don't really know what Czerny can do over the course of a season, because of course we've seen bits and bobs of him at his previous clubs. We don't know what he's really going to bring to the party. We need to see that now. I thought there was times he looked a bit sloppy on the ball at times, but in those big moments, in the moment that really mattered, he came up, and Rangers then also get the benefit from that. I think there has to be more to come from him. I think we really need to see that starting on Saturday.
Yep, CGM55 says, I thought he looked miles off it, but he produced one bit of quality, and sometimes that's all you need. Absolutely is, and he's gave Rangers a proper fighting chance. Of course, Dessers still has to finish it. We've seen him miss opportunities from around similar range, but fortunately had the shooting boots on tonight. Loved his celebration as well. I'm not entirely sure what it was about, but it looked good anyway, and he certainly enjoyed that goal, as did the Rangers fans who had made the journey over to Poland as well. Fantastic stuff. Let's get to some of the comments that are coming in, because there are loads. Just on Dessers, Francis says, well done, big man, shutting up all his haters. No more than we deserved. Actually enjoyed watching that game, plus my nails are still intact. Well, good stuff. Interesting point as well here from Stuart Ritchie. He says, I never saw that result coming, but credit to PC and the team for hanging in there and digging it out. Yeah, it was a proper workmanlike performance from Rangers. It wasn't scintillating really, but it's one of those ones you just keep, as we said in the show this morning, Chris, keeping the tie alive and giving yourself a fighting chance for next week, and they certainly did that. Bobby Finlay with a point, he says, atmosphere was awful. Well, I think the fact that they're playing away from their actual home, thousands of miles away, certainly plays a part into that. As if you tune into the interview I did with the Ukrainian football expert, it says that the ultras that follow Dynamo Kyiv, a large majority of those are fighting on the front line as opposed to watching football. So it's understandable. They are playing at a very small ground. I think it only holds roughly just under 15,000, and it was nowhere near full tonight. I think maybe even half full. So a lot of tourists that head along to the game. So that was probably in part to the atmosphere being as it was. But I'd imagine it'll be electric at Hampden on Tuesday night, Chris. It will be a bit of a strange experience heading there at the weekend against Motherwell. Will be nowhere near the atmosphere I'd imagine that we experience at Ibrox, but I'm sure the Rangers fans will turn up in their numbers as they always do, and hopefully make it a special evening next week.
It's not going to be a European night like we've seen at Ibrox, but it could still be a really important European night for Rangers. I think it could go some way to helping the fans feel a bit more at home at Hampden. As yet, it's still for a time frame that we're not really sure where it's going to end. Or the chairman addressed that in recent days, but as he said himself, it was very caveated. So we still don't have a firm date of when Rangers will get back into Ibrox. Well, they're at Hampden, they have to try and make it feel as home as possible. Actually, really interesting to go along there on Saturday and see what they've managed to do to the stadium. As I said to you before we came on air, I think there might be some club employees cutting around Hampden like the Union Bears, just putting stickers everywhere to try and make it feel a bit more like Ibrox. It's not going to be. Now we've all been there at these great European nights at Ibrox over the last couple of seasons. It's going to feel different. It's going to be different. I don't think it will will have that same impact. But it's a tie and a fixture that Rangers should win, and if they can, it maybe just makes people feel a bit more at home. Because if you look at the fixture list over the next few weeks, a number of games at Hampden, Rangers have to play well there. They have to pick up results there, because if they don't, it doesn't bode well at all for domestic or European ambition. So hopefully the fans can go there and make it feel something like home. Go there and play their part. You know that they will turn up in their numbers, because they do everywhere they go. The Rangers fans will play their part next Tuesday. They need the team to play their part. They need the team to try and step it up again, hopefully against Motherwell at the weekend, step it up again heading into next Tuesday. But I think, as we said right at the top of the show, this tie has the complexion of it with that Dessers goal. The complexion of it has changed to Rangers being on the back foot and having to perhaps go and force it a bit next Tuesday. They don't have to force it as much. I think there's enough. We've seen enough tonight to suggest that Rangers can get the result, can go through, and you would have to back them now to go and finish that job off.
Yeah, psychological for them as well. That'll be a big blow. I mean, you can imagine if the Holton leg was at Hampden, first of all, and Kyiv has scored in the last seconds of the game, then you'd feel pretty demoralised from that. Let's get to a few points that are coming in. Totally agree with Denzel here. It says, until further notice, Barron alongside Sterling with Diamandi pushed a bit further up, Jeffy on the wing. Bit surprised to see Sterling when he did come on for Connor Barron, who I thought had another. Really enjoy watching Connor Barron in action. I think he's been really good in pre-season. I thought he was good again tonight. But Dujon Sterling comes in, Chris, and we know he's been out injured, but he comes in and he just the athleticism and the power and the energy that the guy has is second to none. And now I know we've had many discussions about James Tavernier and whether the time is right for Dujon Sterling to take his place at right back. Well, I'm thinking unless he leaves, then Tavernier will remain at right back. And Sterling, I just think he offers so much in the middle of the park. That is a midfield I would like to see definitely next week. Could we see it on Saturday, do you reckon?
Potentially. I would like to see Dujon Sterling start a game and hopefully try and get some more minutes under his belt. Spoken to a couple of people at the club about Sterling over the last wee while, and they see him as an ex-Rangers right back. They see right back as his position. I remain to be convinced. I think he just offers so much in that midfield area. Certainly in games like tonight, we both had him starting in our lineups earlier on. Was disappointed that he didn't start, and I think as Denzel says there, I think that Sterling Barron partnership, Diomande played slightly further forward. To me, that looks like the best. If the manager's going to go with this midfield setup right now, I think that's the most effective one. That's the one that gives Rangers the best chance of being successful and winning games. We've spoken a lot about Tom Lawrence over the course of the summer, over the course of this week, building up to this game. For me, the Rangers do need an upgrade in that number 10 area. They don't just need one; they need two, maybe even need three, depending on how many of those options leave over the next few weeks. They have to improve the middle of the pitch. You look at Dowell coming on as well. We know that Nico Raskin has still to come back in. You're just a bit, one, you're short of numbers. Two, I still think you're really short of quality in certain positions and for different situations. If everyone is fit right now, I think that Barron, Sterling, Diomande playing slightly higher up, that looks to me to be the best of the Rangers midfield options. Whether we see it long term or not, I don't know. The manager clearly rates Tom Lawrence. He's played him in a lot of games, but I say for me, I think Diomande could be more effective playing further up, and then that gives you that Barron and Sterling. You know you're going to get great energy, relentless work rate, but you're also going to get quality on the ball and good technical quality from both of them as well. And I think that's the midfield setup that gives Rangers the best chance heading into this second leg.
Yeah, really pleased for Cyril Dessers. Ian Edwards with a point. He says Dessers' mentality to keep pushing and never giving up is incredible considering the stick he gets. Big goal from him tonight. So, you can be pleased with his night's work. This sort of summed up the mood of many Rangers supporters from Mr. B. He says, at least it wasn't a disaster. I had the heebie-jeebies all day. All's well ends well, as they say, but the tie very much alive for next week. Robert with a point says, what did Rangers earn for a draw tonight? I'm not entirely sure, Robert, but we do know progression from this round into the playoff guarantees. What, is it £5 million, Chris? Thereabouts this stage of the competition if they get through it.
Around about €5 million, I think it is. So just slightly less than that in pounds, obviously. But I think as we spoke about this morning, as we spoke about last night, as the manager mentioned when Josh was at the pre-match presser last night, the financial side of qualification is obviously huge, but the financial side of progression can be significant as well. And the Rangers with still so much to do, so many players to still come in. Every little helps. Every bit of prize money they can get in would certainly be beneficial. So getting through this round, regardless of what the playoff then brings, getting through this round carries its own benefit. And I think, as we're both in agreement, we would certainly fancy Rangers to get the job done next Tuesday night now.
Yeah, the other match, of course, that if Rangers do progress, they play the winners of Red Bull Salzburg in FC20. They played their first leg this evening, and Salzburg currently lead by a goal to nil. We're going into the 79th minute of that game. Kjærgaard scored in the first half, so the Austrian side lead the way with regards to that game. An interesting point that popped up here, I'll flag it up from Andrew. It says, what's the script with Danilo? Can't manage any minutes at all. Was an unused sub at the weekend, and of course didn't get on again tonight. We heard from him after the Birmingham game where he hoped that he would get a start at Tynecastle. It's clear to me, Chris, and it was clear against Birmingham, he's nowhere near fit enough at this point in time. I think he just has to be nursed back, and I think he's just got to have to be patient, I guess, and just come on and try and do what he can when he's called upon. But at this moment in time, Cyril Dessers is the number one striker.
I think the manager's decision not to put Danilo on, you have to say it paid off. It may have taken until the very last kick of the ball for it to pay off. I saw a bit of social media chat during that last 10 minutes. The thought crossed my mind as well of what's the harm in giving Danilo just 10 minutes just to see what he can do. He's going to be fit enough to get through 10 minutes. You would have thought just give Rangers a different option to try and hit. Give Kyiv a different option to defend against. But Dessers, he stays on, he gets his chance, he keeps coming back for more. You have to give him huge credit for that. He's held up his end of the bargain. Going forward, we do need to see Danilo play football because we know the situation with Hamza Agaman. Dessers can't play 90 minutes every single game. There's going to have to be some rotation in there somewhere. It's asking a lot of him to go from now until the international break, playing every minute or almost every minute. So Rangers do have to find a way of getting Danilo some minutes. Manager clearly felt that tonight wasn't the occasion for it. Hopefully, it's a bit more training time heading into the weekend. We'd really like to see him get a game against Motherwell. That's not to say he starts, but at least get 20, 25 minutes or so, because we need to see him get back up to speed. He's only going to get that sharpness. He's only going to build up that match resilience by playing games. He's needed within the first team squad. It's not a case of you can go and stick him in the B team for a week and he can play, like, for example, in that game at the training the other day there, because he's needed. Rangers short of forward options. If they had another one or another two, it may be a different situation, but it's not they do need Danilo as part of the squad, but they do need to see him being able to play a part in this side. So I think that's definitely a consideration for the manager over the next couple of weeks, because he will be required over these next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Dave McFarlane with the point, he says, good result. If we go through next week, are we guaranteed at least Europa League? Yes. Rangers will be in the Europa League group stage. So I know the manager was discussing playing in the Champions League, and it wouldn't be a disaster if they were knocked out and played in the Europa League. You can read what he had to say over on the website, and you'll be able to read what he has to say after tonight's game shortly as well, Joshua, in the press conference room, and you'll be able to watch that press conference over on the YouTube channel, folks, and you can read the Q&A in full shortly on the website as well. But decent result for Rangers tonight against Dynamo Kyiv away from home. Sets it up nicely for next week. Hopefully Rangers can go and finish the job off. But we'll wrap up there. Thank you to Chris as ever. Big thanks to you all for tuning in as well. I'll be on tomorrow morning with Joshua live from Poland. So we hope you can join us for that as we look back into the game in more detail, and we'll discuss the big talking points from Philippe Clement's press conference as well. Right, enjoy your evening, folks, and we'll speak to you tomorrow. Bye for now.